Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again in this YouTube astrological segment. I'm going to be giving you my Virgo March 2022 horoscope forecast, and yes, it does apply and pertain to the Sun, Moon, and Ascendant. Now, anyway, first thing up is, as far as March goes, the Sun will be in Pisces from the 1st until the 20th. So the 7th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted for Virgo. Well, at this time, Virgo, you might find yourself focusing more on relationships, partnership situations, relationships including significant friendships. This could be flavored with altruism and sacrifice. You might find yourself sacrificing a lot for others. Keep in mind you're also going to have Jupiter and Neptune emphasizing the 7th house as well during this month. This is a time to we're also, keep in mind, the Sun and the Sun in astrology is also connected with the biological father and children, if applicable, if you have any. So it could also be a time where these people might figure in more prominently in your connections, and could even be in legal matters in some cases. This might shine the light, so to speak, on very could be deceptive, duplicitous, maybe passive, open adversary. Could be one that's very elusive, and somebody that just might be somebody again that might be very, could be somebody that's very deceptive, evasive, a person that might be somewhat nebulous or unclear as well. So anyway, the next thing up, well, as far as March goes, the Sun will be in Aries from the 20th until the 31st. So the 8th house is what we emphasized and highlighted. So at this time, there might be a strong focus and attention on taking the initiative. It could be in an intimate relationship. It could also be about focusing on a shared resources situation, moral, emotional, monetary support. Since this is Aries, it could be done, very aggressively with little hesitation or procrastination. Now, keep in mind the 8th house is also the house of surgery, so it can also be, or it might shine the light on something Aries related that may need surgery in some isolated cases. It could be something with the head, or the skull, or the face, or even in some cases the brain even. It could also be a time too where it's a time as well where you might the Sun is about can be connected with the biological father and children. So these people might be playing some role in you making a major transformation or dealing with a crisis. It could be a time where you may be motivated and driven toward taking action in some crisis-related situation, toward making a major change or transformation. Also, it could be a time where it's a focus on courage and fortitude in a crisis situation in some cases. Could also be a time too where there might be more focus and attention on matters. It could be with a death, could be a will, maybe leaving a legacy, something with insurance or taxes. And this is the Aries is very action oriented, so you can understand maybe a lot of activity of this during at this time. Now, anyway, there's going to be a new moon in Pisces on March 2nd, so the 2nd house is what will be emphasized and highlighted. So this could be a time for you, Virgo, where it may manifest in could be a start of a new relationship. If you're not already connected, don't have a significant other or marriage partner, this could be the time where you may embark on a relationship. It could be something where you show a lot of sacrifice for, a lot of compassion and altruism. Maybe it's something that you saw, something you felt you fantasized about. Could also be the start of a partnership situation. Could be some business partnership that could be Pisces related, something associated with dancing, poetry, the metaphysical, which includes astrology, chemistry, photography. as some examples. Some cases, though, I know the new moon is basically auspicious, but I would believe too it could also be the beginning, in some cases, of some legal situation or an open adversary. If it's a legal situation, it might be something involving, could be a chemical, whether it's might have been some chemical poisoning in some food, as an example. Remember, the moon is also associated with food, and it could be some situation too where this could also be the start of some kind of Pisces related competition. Maybe there's something with poetry or dancing, or something with aquatics, or like water polo. It could be some water sport, as another example. Anyway, well, next up, there's going to be a full moon in Virgo on March 18th. So the first house is what we emphasized and highlighted for Virgo. So at this time, well, Virgo, in some cases, this could be a time where you might have enough. There might be something with the physical body that you've been overly critical of. There could be some cases, I would say, an awareness. It could be a self-revelation or unveiling of some issue with the physical body. In some cases, there's something Virgo related, something connected with the spleen, for example, or the intestines, or the pancreas is another example, the abdomen. Um, it may be something as well this time where the full moon is about becoming tired, exasperated, simply full of something. And first house is connected with a grandparent, could be someone that was prominent in your early childhood as well. And it might be, maybe there's some Virgo qualities, like, person being overly pedantic or judgmental or critical or cynical. This could be a time where you might simply become, full, you're complete, you've had enough. And it could also be a time to remember that the full moon is also connected with completions and culminations. So it could also be a time where something, you're tired may end. It may be associated with someone prominent in your early childhood. It may be something of an outlook. Maybe your outlook is overly cynical, and you're maybe worried about starting certain new beginnings, and it might be the time where you just really have had maybe perhaps enough of that way of being, and that's where how this may manifest and pan out at this time for you, Virgo. So anyway, there might also be a revelation or unveiling too, I want to say, of maybe starting with something new, a new beginning for Virgo, such as something with statistics or data analysis, computer programming, cleaning, organizing. But anyway, the next thing up. Well, Mercury is going to be in Aquarius from the 1st until the 10th as far as March goes. So for Virgo, the 6th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted. This could be a time where you may be talking more about your future, connected with your employment. Maybe you're having more conversations associated with astrology, computers, the internet, astronomy, electronics, with people that are prominent in your daily routine, an aunt or an uncle. Now, it could also be where there may be more communication in some cases regarding, it could be an Aquarius health related issue. Maybe there's something with the ankles, the shins, the calves, the lower legs, or the nerves. And the thing about your thinking may be more innovative in your daily routine. And Mercury is also about analysis. So it might be a time where you might feel more like, analyzing. Maybe there's something with the computer or even with astrology and doing so in the daily routine. Sixth house is also the house of pets. So it might be a time where you're really, at this time, be wanting to do, I won't say you be communicate. Maybe you're trying to communicate with them a little bit more. Aquarius is unorthodox energy. Keep that in mind. But there may be more mobility associated with pets, whether you might just simply be walking your dog more. As an example, Mercury is connected with mobility, and it might be where your mind is really wanting, is more think about being more selfless in matters associated with pets as well. Now, another thing, well, next up, Mercury is going to be in Pisces as far as March goes, from the 10th until the 27th. So the 7th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted. Hold on a moment, people. Sorry about that, I'm back, but anyway. Well, one way this transit may manifest, you may find there may be more communications now with relationships, maybe over a legal matter, and these communications may be ambiguous and cryptic, but it could also be a time where Mercury was about analysis. You may be trying to analyze a relationship. There might be some confusion, or there's something that you're thinking might be nebulous or unclear regarding a marriage partner, a significant other. And the 7th house is also the house of open adversaries. So you're trying to understand somebody that may become an enemy. Maybe there's confusion in relation to that. Could also be a time. Mercury is also connected with siblings, cousins, and neighbors. They may be Pisces, Sun, Moon, or Ascendant people, or simply ones that embody Piscean traits. And you may be more involved with them. It could be in some kind of partnership situation. Maybe there is a legal situation they may be assisting you with at this time, or even some kind of competition as well, since we're talking about the 7th house. Well, next up, Mercury is going to be in Aries as far as March goes, from the 27th until the 31st. So at this time, for Virgo, at this time, the 8th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted. Well, could be a time where there may be very direct, blunt, I would say outspoken communications. Could be with somebody you're in an intimate relationship with, or a person you're in a shared resources scenario with. Could also be a time too where you may actually be communicating about some Aries related surgery. It could be something connected with the head, the skull, the face, or even the brain in some isolated cases. It's also where the thinking may be more pioneering and innovative, and it may be, it might involve talks, someone you're in a shared resources situation with, which could be a business partnership, or someone you're in an intimate connection with. And also too, you might be thinking more enthusiastically about just researching deeply at this time, and your mind may be such where it's very impatient, and you want to you're moving kind of, the mind could be somewhat hurried and impatient during this time over 8th house related matters, whether it's something connected with insurance or taxes at this time, or a will. This is the time to also as well, Mercury is also connected with siblings, cousins, and neighbors, so it might also be a time when these people may be Aries, Sun, Moon, or Ascendant people, or embody those traits, and they may be figuring more prominently in maybe helping you deal. It could be at this time, it could be with a crisis situation, or just in matters with moral, emotional, and monetary support. Now, anyway, well, Mars is going to be in Capricorn as far as March goes, from the 1st until the 6th. So at this time for Virgo, the 5th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted. Now, the situation with romantic partners and children may be more contentious, even acrimonious. Can be a time too where there may be arguments with these people over responsibilities, over discipline, consistency, even just general coldness, callousness at this time. But at the same time, you might find yourself expending a lot of energy and vitality in some Capricorn related hobby or interest. It could be doing something with crafts, or something that involves structure, like Could be putting assembling die-cast models, something with mountain or rock climbing at this time as well. And as some, that could be an isolated example though. As the thing about this too is, I mean, Mars is also about enthusiasm, so it could also be where there's more enthusiasm in matters associated with speculation and investments. And the fact that it's in Capricorn, these may be ones that require more premeditation, planning. Um, it may be a time too, if you're involved in sports. Fifth house is the house of sports. Mars is injuries. Just be very careful. This could be a little greater propensity for injury in sports-related matters. If you're doing, since this is Capricorn, it could be some injury to the knee, the bones, the joints, or the hamstrings at this time. Well, next up, Mars is going to be in Aquarius as far as March goes from the 6th until the 31st. So the 6th house is what we emphasized and highlighted for Virgo at this time. Well, you might find yourself the situation with employees, if applicable, people in your daily routine, an aunt or an uncle, may be more contentious and acrimonious than usual. There may be arguments pertaining to the future, could be goals, aspirations. There may be very unpredictable outbursts of anger in connection with these people, whether it's from you or it's directed at you from these people. At the same time, you might find yourself expending a lot of energy and vitality on some Aquarius work-related matter, maybe doing something with electronics or computers or astronomy, astrology, innovation, as some examples. And the thing too is Mars again is connected with injuries, so this could increase the propensity for something injury related or an accident at your job, and it could involve something with, it might be one of an unusual nature, or it's something that might injure Aquarius related body part. It could be something with the ankles, the shins, the lower legs, the calves, or something with the nerves. This could also be a time too where where there's much more action and initiative. It could be in matters with pets, people in your daily routine, service related issues. And if you're maybe more enthusiasm in providing service to others, it could be something connected with computers or astrology, or helping out with electronic devices in some instances. Well, the next thing up, Jupiter is going to be in Pisces for the entirety of March 2022, so the 7th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted. Now for you, Virgo, it may be a time where this could be very fortuitous and auspicious for relationships at this time. If you're unattached, you may connect with a foreigner, and maybe somebody being in Pisces, somebody who may have fantasized or dreamt about. It might be something that you felt was unimaginable. This could be a time as well where Jupiter is connected with prosperity. So if it's going to be a prosperous time, if you're involved in a business, be Pisces related, it could be something with poetry or dancing or photography or the metaphysical, which includes astrology. You may express more exuberance and enthusiasm in 7th house matters in general, whether it's competition or relationships, or even if you have to deal with some open adversary at this time. It could enlarge. Remember too that, as I've spoken about in previous videos, Jupiter is very paradoxical. It could be very strongly benign and benevolent, but it could also have a tendency to enlarge and expand. In some cases, this may enlarge and expand deception and duplicity in your relationships at this time. And it could be where it may enlarge, overlooking the details, glossing over the details with these people as well. It could be a significant other, a marriage partner, somebody you're in a business partnership with at this time. But it's also about, this could also enlarge matters with negotiation and compromise, and it might be tied in to forgiveness Sun, because this is Pisces energy. Well, anyway, well, hold on a moment, people. Sorry about that, I'm back, but anyway. Well, next thing up, Saturn is going to be in Aquarius, so the sixth house is what will be emphasized and highlighted, will be in Aquarius for the entire month of March 2022. And you might find yourself at this time, Virgo, where you may be taking care of, could be a sickly or debilitated aunt or uncle, and you may be expressing, helping out very selflessly. Now, in some cases, too, could also be more responsibilities at your place of employment at this time. And remember that Saturn is also about restriction and limitation, and it may be a time where you may be more restricted and limited in matters that are, as far as employment goes. It may even be restriction and limitation, on the internet, and it may be more in your daily routine. At this time, it could be where you don't have maybe the access to the internet as much as you ordinarily would. And it could be a time too where you might find it could even be more responsibility to a pet. It might be an unusual, maybe there's something unusual about the pet, or you see the pet as having, being maybe a lot smarter than you feel than the average pet would be. Whether it could be a time too where you might find yourself working a lot harder at this time. Saturn is about laborious work. The sixth house is work and employment. And also too, it can be also a time, it's also sixth house is service related. So you might find yourself working laboriously, providing some kind of service to somebody, whether it could be something with computers or electronics or astrology, or something of a humanitarian nature. Now, and also too, there might be some restrictions and limitations with the health, and being in Aquarius, it could be something with the ankles, the shins, the bones, the joints. It could be something with the ankles or the shins, or the lower legs, the calves, or nerves. But remember, it is Saturn, so there could be Saturn-related issues too. There may be some problems with the bones, the joints, the hamstrings, or the gallbladder, or the knees. Now, next up, Uranus is still going to be in Taurus. So at this time, the ninth house will be emphasized and highlighted for Virgo. At this time, Virgo, you might find yourself taking it could be an unexpected, long distance travel. A lot of it may be predicated on money, since we're talking about Taurus energy. There may be a Uranus higher education course you may be taking, something with astrology or computers, electronics, aviation, meteorology as some examples. And also too, you might find that Taurus, it could be friendships, that could be with Taurus, Sun, Moon, or Ascendant, people or ones that embody those traits. They might figure more prominently in your philosophy, your expanding horizons, even religious views at this time. And it might be a time too where in-laws and grandchildren may be acting in a more unpredictable manner. You might see things that are shocking from them that you didn't expect before. And it's also a time where you may be more interested in doing something Uranus related associated with publishing. It could be something again with astrology or computers, electronics, innovation, as some examples. And also too, now this is a time, next thing up anyway, we're going to get to Neptune. Well, Neptune is going to be in Pisces for the entire month of March 2022. So the seventh house is what will be emphasized and highlighted for Virgo. At this time, for Virgo, it might be harder for you to decipher motives, intentions of other people. You might overlook their transgressions, and it's also could be a time as well where you might find yourself You're sacrificing a lot of your time for a marriage partner, a significant other, your relationships in general, which can include significant friendships. It may be a time too where it's about a time where you may show more forgiveness toward your open enemies at this time, more so than usual. Um, but there might be something, and if you're involved in a legal situation, that might be nebulous or unclear at this time as well. And it may be also a time for you as well that, in a sense, I mean, you might be involved, it could be in something Neptune related, competition, whether it could be something with poetry or dancing or photography. Maybe there's something with water sports that you may be interested in. You might be competitive at this point in time, and it might be a time too where you have to be careful because Neptune is connected with drugs and alcohol, and it might be a time where you may get involved with somebody. If you're unattached, that might be connected with that somehow. So anyway, well, last but not least, well, Pluto is going to be in Capricorn for the entire month of March 2022. So at this time, the fifth house is what will be emphasized and highlighted. Now, sadly for Virgo, you might feel at this time that there could be your enjoyment in life in general might feel like it's being obliterated or destroyed. It could be, in some isolated cases, it can be the death of a lover or a child in some isolated cases. Could also be a time where you might express more passion and desire for matters connected with hobbies, your fun, creativity, amusement, and enjoyment. But it could also be a time too, when you have this transit, there might be power struggles with lovers, with children at this time. But it's also a time too to be careful. Because some cases it can indicate compulsive gambling. In isolated cases, Pluto is associated with things that are compulsive. The fifth house is connected with speculation and gambling, and it might be a time too where you may be, the fact that the fifth house is associated with personal popularity. There may be an obsession with trying to attain greater popularity, or it could simply be where you feel the popularity that you have, the personal popularity, may be annihilated and destroyed. But the good thing about Pluto is that it's also about rebirth and regeneration. So when something goes away, you may be able to revive it at some point. And so there are actually some positives connected with Pluto. And you also might be a time where you might be more interested in what I would call Plutonian hobbies, and it might be doing something with the occult, which includes astrology or recycling or something. Maybe there's something with investigation that you like to do, or something connected with transformation, whether it would be rebuilding a vehicle, as an example. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.